Oh, it's me.
Jay, 2-1. Yes, 2-1. Obviously, eventually it's worked. 2-1. How did you think the game went?
More than satisfied with it. Like the fact that we played a strong squad, right? I thought that was bold. I liked our lineup. And we stayed in it. It's hard to match the energy of a team on the brink like Burnley, especially when Brentford pulls back even with Leeds and it's kind of on for them again. So I'm not frustrated that they were all over us at the end. That's to be expected, right? So more than happy, and more than happy with an 11th. It is some kind of miracle that we're in 11th, right? You know, I mean, I'll take it. I will absolutely take it. What about you?
I thought it was, like you said, it was hard to match there. Like desire really wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? I think up until the penalty, I don't think we really had many chances. I think it was a bit of like it seemed, not I'm saying we weren't trying, it just seemed like we just weren't maybe at the races today. Maybe that was because Burnley were just trying to stay in the league. But I think Callum Wilson obviously took his penalty well and he took the second goal well. So that's all he can ask for. It's a bit bizarre that someone that's been out for most of the season's your top goal scorer. Like, but it just seems like it's a total Newcastle thing.
It makes a big difference for us, right? He lengthens the field in interesting ways. And as long as he can stay healthy, I'm extremely happy with him up top. But we will need coverage for him. He will not stay put together the entire season. And that's just and that's okay. We just need more people to help him with that. We are a far better team with him up top, almost regardless of who we play in the middle. Just the way he uses space and makes runs is just far more threatening than anything, that Chris puts out there for us.
Do you reckon there could be a chance that Chris Wood could move on shortly, or do you reckon he had to stay for a while?
I think he could move on. I think they will be fairly ruthless in this window, right? And if you Google his value, it's not super high, but it's not low. And the truth is, he is a very good striker for teams that are trying to stay in contention, right? That cannot afford the best. And I would think that if somebody would give us our money back or something like for them, I wouldn't be surprised if he moved on. I'm not demanding that he moved on, but if he did, we need money from somewhere, and I think he's one of the players that it could come from.
If you could name one player that's moving on, who do you think it'll be?
I could take some easy ones, but one that is near and dear to me is Miggy. You and I have all disagreed a little bit over the years. I think you were proved to be right over time, right? Whether that's due to lack of coaching. And he represents a double-digit figure, and I think he will move on. I kind of don't want him to, even though I get what everybody says about how he plays. But and I think he could improve. But he represents money. Breaks my heart. He's my favorite player due to time here and whatnot. But he will move on. I'll go on record for that, and he will do well when he winds up probably in Spain. He will play well for a team down there.
Yeah. I think even with me today, I think it showed you maybe his lack of football and knowledge when I think he could have squared it to Callum Wilson and he put it in Rose Edge. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like he was going forward, and I was like in my room here, like, come on, Miggy, it's a perfect. And then it just went over the top, and I was like, oh my boy, So in any case, I think he's done good service for us for where we were, the cost we paid for him, and most people like his energy and his attitude, and I think he'll be missed. He's a popular player, like Spria. Other players like that, like Nabi, like he was just a popular player. Whether I think he was as skilled as those two players, of course, but many people will be happy that he's gone, and we can take the money we get from him and get another $20 to $30 million player that can probably do the business better than him.
Yeah. How much do you think we'll get from? I think would it buy him for 20 million? I think.
Yeah, 20 million. I think there were some kick-ons, and I think they were actually based on performance stuff. You never really see all the guts of that stuff, but I think there was a little bit more, and I think we'll get 15 to 20 for him from a continental club. That's what I think we'll get for him. I don't think he's improved his value this year, other than he has demonstrated that he can do the business for a club in that spot at the right competition level. So let's call it 20, maybe 18, something like that, right?
What did you make of Alan Saint-Maximin's performance today? Obviously, he came off for I can't remember who he came off for. It was for Wood, wasn't it?
It was for Wood. That's right. Right in like the 60th minute or somewhere there, about something like that. I don't need to. Some of some of the folks in chat were really going off on him, and I get where they're at. I don't need him to go, and he didn't have his best game, but he is struggling playing the way we need him to play now.
Yeah.
For 2 years, we needed him to just be the man, and if he was the man, we win against some teams, right? But most games he wasn't the man. He takes on a lot of players, and you can't beat everybody in a row every time, right? They teach you that from the time you're 10, right? You can't beat everyone all the time. Well, ASM's never really learned that lesson. He'll, he will just take it to everybody if we don't get through. I don't need him to go. I think he's a more than serviceable player and a good value for the money. And I don't think he's really on the list to go. We need players, and he has talent. Unfortunately, he's also worth a decent amount of money. And I do think, I said this in the comments, I think if somebody comes with a bag of money for him, I think he would be how much? Let's go. The internet says he's worth about 30 for whatever that means, right? When you Google stuff on the internet. I think it would take more than 40 to get him away, but they would take the money. And I would you take 40? Would you take 40, 45, or 50?
50 for me, like for ESM.
Like 50 would be like Andy Carroll snatch your arm off. Right? But he doesn't need to go, in my opinion.
No.
He's certainly not our problem. And when he's on, he's brilliant. If he can just learn to play in that winger role where play flows not always through him, but he's the second last touch player in that area, he'll do fine for us. And we're going to need people next year.
Yeah. Do you feel like his performances have improved since Callum Wilson's came back?
Yeah, I think there's some today. He did get the assist today. Like everybody, chat was just slacking him off completely, and then he comes through with a classy assist. I think he's in sync with him better than he is Bruno, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like he's definitely in sync with the verticality of Wilson than he is with some of the other players.
Yeah.
And ASM's always been completely out of sync with anything Miggy was doing from the other side when they were crossing up. So, but I don't know. I think so. I think that's the right direction for him. And I don't need him to go, even though he's our most expensive player that in theory could be moved on. I don't think we need it that bad right now, is my take. So I think we see him next year.
Yeah.
Here. In the
well, I think it just shows because I think when they're not going to offer him a new contract, I think, or did he get offered a new contract? I think
I did not hear that. I'm not certain when he's up, but I know I think he's up in 24. I'm just trying to remember. I was just during the break, I was scanning through out of player contracts or out of contract players, and I think he's 24. Could be wrong.
Okay. Have you got any final comments on the match? Obviously, it was sort of like a nothing game, not really a nothing game, but for us, but.
Hell of a season, most entertaining season for me because it only got better, right? It wasn't like the crash to 10th kind of thing we did under Pardew or the 5th a long time ago back in the day that I remember. But this was like a continuing accelerating curve, whatever, 4th since January, 6th since Eddie, 6th or 7th since Eddie took over, including all the disaster stuff in November. Just couldn't be more thrilled, couldn't be more entertained, going out on a super high. I do want to get on the record that I said we'd stay up on 37 points in November, back when everything was bad. And I said we won't win the game in December, but we stay up at Burnley on 37 points. It turns out Leeds stayed up on 38 points. So I can math the bottom of the league pretty well, but boy, do I like us getting out on 49. I'm thrilled. What a summer this is going to be, man. What a summer.
Just before you go, player of the season for yourself?
It's got to be Joe Linton because of the delta. It's like that standard thing. Are you picking the best player or are you picking the player that contributed the most? So it has to be Joe Linton as the player that has changed the most. I have no comparison. And I was mean to him last year in a way that if I met the man, I would lead with, I'm sorry, I was an asshole on the internet. And I'm just really proud of him for it. You know, it's a great character for him, and I wish him all the best. Our best player is Bruno because he wears a magic hat, right?
Yes,
that is our very best player. So that's where I'm at.
Well, it's been brilliant having you on, Jay. Thank you so much for coming. Obviously, thanks for staying on, even though it was slightly delayed.
No, it's all good. I stayed for the robe, right? I had to see it. So
thank you. Well, it hasn't been on in a while when I've done a video. So
cheers, eh? Want to see you. Take care.
Speak later, mate. Bye-bye. If you haven't already, guys, make sure you like the video. Andrew, I'll bring you in next, and I'll also bring Connor in as well, just because he's been waiting a while. What did you both make of the game? Andrew, you go first.
First of all, I want to apologise to Connor because I've watched the video back from last week and twice my video was doing this and I interrupted him. So, Connor, apologies, mate. I'll put it in the comments in the last video. It's crazy to think.
Connor,
sorry, mate.
Pale, just before you start speaking, Connor, you look as pale as your back wall. I kind of tell what's you and what's wall.
Yeah, that's
like a sun in Scotland.
Whatever it is, I should be used to it in the northeast as well, though. I think it's that fact that I shaved, so obviously the beard's gone, which just makes me look even paler.
Go on then, Andrew.
I just think it's crazy to think that we're watching Sam getting ready to kick a puppy outside of Wolves at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And we finished 11th.
Yeah.
It's what a change. And I mean, even today, like, I think you summed it up really well when you were talking to Jay there, that we, as much as we've got nothing to play for, we still match Burnley's desire to stay in the game, because Burnley, they were really throwing everything at us.
Yeah.
And Lascelles cut out a couple of passes in the first half that could have been a goal. And mate, I've never wanted a season to end. In the past, I've always wanted the season to end. In the last few years, I've like, get this season done with, let's start again. Now I'm like, why is it ending? Let's just keep it going. Let's keep it going.
We better wish I had them 14 games back. Do you know what I mean? We could have pushed up the table even further.
Imagine.
Yeah. Connor, what did you make of the game, mate?
Yeah, but it kind of went somewhere along the lines I expected it to go. We knew going into the game, Burnley were fighting for their lives. They're at home. Their crowd were up for it. I think you could tell with some of the decisions for the refs, some soft fouls, that clearly that energy from the crowd was slightly getting to him, which you expect that happens. We've had that with our crowd at St James's before. But I was really impressed, actually, with how they handled having to deal with that occasion and go there and not be on your holidays, because we were safe anyway. It didn't really matter, but it was obviously a determination. Let's go and get the win and see, can we finish top 10? And if it hadn't been for West Ham having a disastrously poor day, we might well have done that. So I think it's brilliant, and I suppose it's kind of typical that the game ended the way it did, that last 15-20 minutes after Burnley got one back and then they were pushing. Because how many times this season have we sat watching we're in front, we've got a goal lead, 10-15 to go, we're getting absolutely hammered, and eventually we've more often than not ended up conceding, but today we don't. So I honestly, you can't complain. 11th place, 4 points better off than we were last season. When you consider we didn't win a game until the start of the year, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like where to think. Do you know what I mean? When it's like from when we got taken over till now, I don't think you've seen the club and the town, like the city, is happy as they are. Do you know what I mean? Because there is a bit of hope. Obviously, actually there was glimmers of hope when we had the odd good games, you know what I mean? But and we got like Callum Wilson and ASM in, but I think it just goes to show like a little bit of hope and a little bit of passion from even the owners. Do you know what I mean? You're seeing me and Dad pretty much in the Glazers end last weekend getting hugged off for everyone, so they seem to love it. And obviously it's just mad, isn't it? You're just buzzing every time you watch them. Like I think it was even like the Liverpool game, like I was excited to go. Normally you'd be thinking, oh, it's a Liverpool, do you know what I mean? We're going to get absolutely battered here, but it's just one of the things you just didn't want to stop speaking about. And like Andrew, like you just said, you didn't want the season to end, do you know what I mean? Because we could have kicked on and got even further up the table. But I'll ask you some questions. You asked Jay, one player that you think's definitely going in the summer.
Murphy. It's too easy to replace, and it's a shame because he's like Sam was saying in the video earlier, he's a Geordie supporter, and could he stay? Yeah, maybe he might be one that could stay, but I just think there's too many clubs in the top of the Championship area. Like Burnley could even throw a bid in for Murphy. I think he'd be a player that would do a job for them. Or any of the teams that's getting relegated this year, like Norwich, for example. His brother's played there. He's played there before. He could go back there. But are you really going to bring in much of a fee? But I just think it's the wages. I think Murphy for me and Miggy as well is unfortunately.
How much would you sell them for?
Murphy you probably get 6 million for. I think Miggy you'd be lucky to get anything over 12. I think. You get 18 million. It's the wage bill for me. That's the thing. They're on good money.
Jeff Hendrick's on like 50 grand a week, isn't he? Some stupid
crazy.
For being because when he was brought in, he was only going to be a bit part player. Do you know what I mean? That's not bit part player wages when you're on a tight budget. Connor, who do you think's gonna go?
Oh, I think Miggy definitely. I think he has. We do have to show some appreciation and some love for him because he has been a great servant to the club. We can't deny that having him has made us better at times. Particularly, I think the end of last season, him and Joe Willock were really, driving us on. ASM, with bits of injuries he had, obviously wasn't really in the form he's been in recently. So it has helped us in that respect. I also think Lascelles will probably go.
Yeah.
In this.
You reckon?
I think so.
I still think he'll be club captain.
I don't think so. I think he'll go and Trippier will become captain because I think we have to be honest and say that the owners will want to kick on. 11th, we've done great. We've got there this season. They want more than that. Next season, the owners will be wanting us pushing that top half of the table, pushing potentially for a European spot. Let's not forget, if you finish 7th, you can get into the Conference League. So
what even is that Conference League?
Well, yeah, it's not great, but I imagine the owners will be at the very least looking at something.
Jose Mourinho will tell you it's great because he's going to win it.
I am Jose Mourinho.
But I think on that basis, they'll not only to go and bring in better centre backs. You could keep him as a replacement, but I actually think he's probably too good to just be a backup. I think he's good enough. Maybe somebody like a Burnley, for example, who could shore up their defence, or a Watford or Norwich, or even one of the other teams like Leeds, because they could be doing with somebody to come in and just organise their defence a bit more. I could see him going to places like that where he'll get game time, but just purely on the basis we're going to probably bring in a defender or two. He probably will. But then I think if he went, you could probably, I think, get at least £15 million for Lascelles.
Yeah.
You'd need to sell him in the cheap.
Can I just ask Connor there, though? Is your opinion the same as Lascelles for me? It's not the problem that when he's off the ball, it's when he's on the ball. Eddie Howe wants people that can pass the ball out from the back. And unfortunately, Lascelles' weakness is that's where he struggles.
I think so. He has that. He has those moments when he gets the ball that sometimes you just don't feel very comfortable watching him.
Very comfortable.
Yeah.
I think like having everyone's nerves. Everyone's like sweating and they've got any fingernails left. He's only gonna lump the ball. I'll say it personally. I don't think he'll get sold, and I still think he'll be club captain. I think he'll be club captain, but I don't think he'll play a lot. And I don't even think Trippier will be a captain. In my honest opinion, I don't think he will be a captain. I think there's players that have been here long enough and understand what it's about to be club captain, but maybe I'm wrong. Do you know what I mean? What did you make of Alan Saint-Maximin today? I think he got taken off at 60 minutes for Chris Wood, who seemed to play. Where did Chris Wood even play? Was he through the middle or was he on the wing?
He was in the box, heading balls out, wasn't he? Really?
Yeah.
Basically,
Andrew? What did you make of Chris Wood? Alan Saint-Maximin. Sorry, ignore Chris Wood.
Well, I mean, it's the same conversation we've had about 15, 16 times this season, isn't it? He breaks in the first half. People are on about his pace. He's not as quick as people think he is, I don't think. Because he didn't bust away from, was it Ward? I can't remember the kid's name. But it's the tame shot. And then, I mean, he's getting an assist. So we've arguably got to turn on and say, well, he's assisted the winning goal. So he's done exactly what we've been criticising him for.
Yeah.
However, it's the other 78 or 62 minutes that he played that, for me, it's not good enough. I don't think it's good enough. And you were talking to Jay before. If a £50 million bid comes in, it's exactly like the Andy Carroll situation. Bite their hand off, because I think there's better out there.
Yeah, the thing is, I think every player's up for sale. Probably bar Trippier and definitely Bruno. I don't think they'll accept any bids for Bruno. But I think we've got to be careful of how many players we sell.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because we don't want the nucleus of like John Joe Shelby, Lascelles, and Callum Wilson to be sold. You also still need players that understand what the club's about. So it's going to be interesting. Connor, what did you make of it? Just before. If ASM assists or scores in a game and he's poor for 90 minutes, he has that one brilliant moment. Do you reckon people will always whinge about him?
Yeah, I think so, because he promises so much and too often under-delivers on that promise. He can perform. We've seen what he can do. I mean, we've seen him against, some of the teams in the top 6. We saw him, against Arsenal the other day there. He tore them apart quite a few times. He's got a good turn of pace and he's got quick footwork. The problem is that the end product sometimes is good enough. He should have more goals to his name than he's got. I think, when he does score, to be fair to him, they do tend to be pretty special goals. But he needs to get better at that. Even today, the first half, he's really got to score that chance. It's a good save by him, but he's in a great position. He tries to go round him at that kind of angle, but it's along the ground. You need to get elevation on that, because that's easy enough for the keeper to save. So he is frustrating. But I do think with the quality he's got, I'm not so sure. Unless it was something crazy like a £50 million bid, I wouldn't be selling him. If someone said, there's 20 million or 30 million, I wouldn't be selling him for that. Because he did show today. I mean, the assist, got to say, is a very good assist. He's got it down that wing. He's got 2 Burnley players around him, and he's got it into the gap between them and found Wilson perfectly, who's just got a tap in. So he does deserve credit for that, but he's got to. I'm sure Eddie Howe and Jason Tindall will be saying that to him as well, that he does need to get more goals and get more consistency into his game.
Do you feel like there's always too much pressure on ASM to perform every week? Because if you look at it, he's the second highest goal scorer. Before Bruno came, obviously Bruno's came in and had a worldy half season, but isn't he not off the highest goal scorer? And so should we not be criticising everybody the same as what we criticise ASM? Because if you think about it, the last 2.5 seasons before the takeover, can you see how that's static? Or is it just me? If you think about it, the last 2.5 seasons, arguably ASM's kept us in the Premier League by himself. Do you sometimes think we just think he's always going to perform, and when he doesn't, then that's when everyone gets on his back because he is such a talented footballer?
I think. I mean, look, I think it's one of the reasons why I'd like him to stay, because I think it'll be interesting to see. Next season he won't have that same pressure on him, because we won't be as reliant on him next season, because we will bring in more players. We've got Bruno there now, who's come in. Joe Linton, I think, has been, by a country mile, player of the season. The improvement in him has been unbelievable. Having those players around him, Wilson coming in, maybe get another striker, that will take some of the pressure off him. But he's still going to have to perform, because there has been pressure on him. And I think people, at times, I've come on here and defended him when I've felt people have been overly harsh in certain games. Even earlier in the season, some of the games where we had draws, we really realistically only got those points at the time because he was performing when others weren't. So he does. I'd like to keep him and see what he can do with a lot better players than him. What I would say, he doesn't help himself when he goes on to various bits of media and spouts utter rubbish. Sometimes I think he's got to kind of take a step back and realise it's not clever to basically go out and criticise teammates.
It's like this Sissoko situation, isn't it? Where Sissoko's like, I'm always going to leave. Do you know what I mean? I'm always going to leave. Obviously, I know he's not saying that, but he says it was taken out of context. But you never know.
For me, Liam, mate, it's the question that you asked for me. It would be a case of, in the previous 2 seasons when he's kept it up, it was because he was the guy that only had the quality in the squad to keep winning the league. This season, since January, there's other players on the pitch that can help get the best out of you, not you just get the best out of the rest. And I don't think he's got his head up enough, and I don't mean on the pitch, I mean in training, to see, God, they've got some good players here now. If I can work to Bruno's advantages, i.e. run on the shoulder of the last man and let him play a ball through. How often you see ASM run onto a ball?
Yeah.
It's always he comes deep, receives the ball, and then runs with it. I want to see him on the shoulder of somebody.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be shitting themselves when he's on the edge. Because if he's 1-on-1 on the edge, I just think he needs to realise that there's other talent in the squad. He's not the only good player in the squad now.
Yeah, it's an interesting debate. Do you know what I mean? Because he does get so much stick, and I don't think he deserves it. Because where realistically, where would we be without Bruno? We might not even have been Bruno or ASM. We might not even have been taken over from the Championship. Do you know what I mean? So
I've got to just say, there's somebody's made a Colton Connor, I think it was, made a comment saying that ASM lost his way when Bruce left, and he's not. I don't agree with that. I'm sorry, but I'm not having the suggestion be that there's any player in that squad who's worse now than they were when Bruce was in charge.
Yeah.
There's been less onus on him because since January we've had more players to perform, but he's certainly not been worse since Bruce left. That's no for me.
I think it's just a tricky one, isn't it? Because I think he didn't really work with Chris Wood, because obviously, arguably, Chris Wood's about just stick the ball in the box and it's gone in the back of the net. Do you know what I mean? It's a decent cross, but obviously SM doesn't cross the valve, does he? No. But yeah, I think it's going to be a massively interesting summer. But obviously, we're losing someone that we could have got 50 million for a couple of seasons ago, potentially on a free, and Sean Longstaff. What have you made of his last 2 games? I'm just going to quickly pop for a drink while you talk about it.
Connie, you go, mate.
I think his last couple of games he's been okay. I think his assist for the second goal, I think it was against Arsenal, was one of the best assists of the season, because he's flicked it through the tightest of gaps between those Arsenal defenders and got Callum Wilson in. So it was a very clever pass, and I think he has shown in the last couple of games, that there's still a player there. But I'm not. It probably wouldn't be enough for him to stay, unfortunately. But I hope wherever he goes somewhere that will utilise him. I'm
with you.
I pray for his sake it's not West Brom under Steve Bruce that he goes to.
I think for me, the game before the Arsenal game, I was in the garden and I was commenting on it, and I was like, if that's your performance to ask for a new contract, that's not going to get you a new contract. And then he played against, I think he played a game, and then he played against Arsenal. And I thought he was, for me, his best all-round game in a Newcastle shirt was. I know he didn't score and he didn't, getting a direct assist, but him and Bruno really did actually control that midfield really well. Yeah. And you can see there's a player in Longstaff, but are you willing to risk the inconsistency of Longstaff when you could probably spend 25 million and get a player on a similar level to him? With potential.
I think what Longstaff is, he doesn't like going backwards. I'm not saying he doesn't do the work, but Longstaff is more of like a centre attacker midfielder, not like he doesn't like sitting at the back. Do you know what I mean? Because I think when he's been out on loan, I think he's scored a few goals. Do you know what I mean? And I think when he first came onto the scene, I think he got a couple, didn't he? We need him more like around the edge of the box, like running at the box, like sort of like a Frank Lampard-esque sort of player.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not comparing to Frank Lampard, but we're like
no, you're right though. He's never had chances at 10. You're right.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, then we're heavily linked with Dean Henderson. I think during it was pretty much, someone was telling me it was pretty much a done deal on.
If you listen to certain videos, yeah, you're right there.
But I didn't think Dean Henderson's that much of an upgrade on Dubravka. Arguably, if it's going to be Dean Henderson or Dubravka, I would rather just keep Dubravka, because Dean Henderson's going to come on like 150 grand a week, and he's not really that good of a keeper. Well, I haven't seen his potential since he left Sheffield United. Was it Sheffield United? Sheffield United, yeah, a couple of seasons ago. So
I've got to disagree with you on that one. I think you need to bring another good goalkeeper in to push Dubravka. If you're going to get the best out of Dubravka, you've got to have someone that's on a similar level to him and pushing him. Caldolo's a good goalkeeper, but he's not going to push Dubravka. Dubravka knows that he's going to start if he's fit, if Caldolo's the one behind him. And I think for me, if we were to get, if you're quoting 40 million for Dean Henderson, I don't think it's worth 40 million quid. He's not played any first team football. Yeah. There was a point 2 seasons ago where he was keeping De Gea out of the Man United team. In that form, is he worth 40 million? Yes. But when he's not played football, you can't be asking 40 million pounds. Yeah. It's all because he's English.
But it's all because it's Man U as well.
And that as well. Yeah.
Just before I ask you another question, just remember to like the videos as well if you haven't already done it. Connor, would you sign Matt Target for 15 million?
Yeah, absolutely. No two ways about it. He's probably worth more than that. So if you give, and the partnership him and Dan Burn seem to have struck up has been really positive, because I think there was a concern when Kieran Trippier got injured that it might throw the defence into a wee bit of disarray, it might become wobbly, but it's actually, I think the two of them have held it together very, very well, and he's been outstanding. I mean, again today he clears a ball off the line. It comes in. So he's a very good defender and puts himself in the right positions at the right times.
It was Danny Simpson-esque, wasn't it? Because he loved a good goal line clearance.
Yeah.
Do you think we could get a better fullback for 15 million?
No.
Unless
you're very, very clever. No.
Max Aarons from Norwich?
It's going to cost you more than 15 million. He's English.
True.
Yeah. I tell you who might be worth a look, actually, to be fair, in terms of fullback. Calvin Bassey at Rangers, he has been tremendous for them this season. And I don't know if anybody watched the Europa League final, but he was the best player on that park by a country mile. So in terms of if you're looking at somebody to come in as an up-and-comer, then because he's still a young player and obviously had his time. He's only 22, 21.
He's a unit as well, isn't he?
Oh, he is, yeah. And he, he'd be desperate to get a run back in the Premier League, having left Leicester when he was younger. So I think he's maybe one, if you're looking at a sort of cheap prospect player, because you could probably get him for anywhere between £8 and £10 million as a prospect. Wouldn't be a bad option, at least. Good
show. If we're going to get Loddy, though, I mean, it's highly reported that we're going to get Loddy. I mean, he is. I mean, I'm a massive fan of Matt Target. When we got him, I watched him when he was at Southampton, and I thought he was a good player.
Yeah.
He's got a good left foot on him. Gets forward. He reads the game well. The only thing I worry about Matt Target is physically, like if you've got a winger against him. But Bassey, as you're saying there, I watched Rangers, and I'm critical of the Scottish League. He was brilliant against that Frankfurt. Like he was.
Yeah.
That's going to be honest.
Yeah.
So
go on. Finish the sentence. I was going to discuss something else. Okay. Just before we go on, obviously this is sort of like a safe environment, so we didn't really want nasty comments coming in. Do you know what I mean? People come on this to have a laugh and a joke. Do you know what I mean? We don't need people picking on each other. Do you know what I mean? So if you
I can't see any of the comments, so I'm quite happy.
If you do comment like and it's abusive, then we're just going to block you. Do you know what I mean? And you've just spoiled it for yourself. If I'll ask you this, Andrew, first. If you had to sign one position in the summer, where would it be?
Right wing, because if we are going to get rid of Miggy, you're getting some money in from that position to then improve that position. So let's say let's get 12 million for him, and you're going to pay 40 million for another one. It's only 22 mil, and I honestly think that we need to give teams another thing to think about on the other side of the pitch, because they know we're going to go to ASM, and I do hope ASM stays, and I do hope that. But I think if he plays like he did against Arsenal, consistently with another threat on the other side, we're going to be a hell of a good side.
Yeah,
with Wilson fit as well.
Yeah,
and Wilson's given.
I think that is key. I think Callum Wilson is probably going to be our first choice striker next season, I would say.
I think he's giving them a headache.
Yeah.
How do you improve on Wilson?
I think we need to get somebody in of equal-ish quality because he is too injury prone. If he had been able to stay fit, a lot longer this season, he would have been up there challenging for the Golden Boot. I've no doubt about that. He'd have had 20 plus goals.
Yeah.
But
20 goals, yeah.
He can't stay fit for long enough. And I'm sure, listen, Eddie Howe, I suppose the great thing about having him is he's known Callum Wilson for a long time. He'll have known him at Bournemouth through loads of the different issues he had there. So he will know the best way to try and deal with him, and that might help keep him fitter. But if we can have another striker that's just as good as he is, it takes some of the pressure off him, and it means you can rotate them in games. Because I don't think Chris Wood, for me is that. As what he's done in terms of coming in, he's done a job for us. He gave us something up front when Wilson was injured, but we have to, because the strike options just now, if our only two options out with Callum Wilson or Chris Wood and Dwight Gale, they're not great options. So I would hope we'll do that.
There's a lot of strikers that we're linked with that have got a lot more goals than Wilson over the last 18 months, but they haven't got the injuries that he's had. And you've just got to think. For me personally, I look at it and I go, Patrick Schick, I think, is a fantastic striker. But if Wilson was fit, would he get the same amount of goals as Patrick Schick would? So then you bring him in and then disrupt it, because one may get upset because they're not the number 9. I mean, I think Wilson, with his form since he came back, especially against Arsenal, has given the owners a massive headache, because they will have been looking at a striker that probably was arguably on the same level as Wilson, and they've got to look at it now and go, is that an improvement on Wilson? We might have to look higher.
Yeah. One of the comments here says, would you bring a young player in, like that Ntete, Hugo Ntete? Yeah, that's the one. Terrible pronunciations. Would you bring him in, like that sort of option where he's a younger player? Because I think he's quite similar to Mbappe, isn't he? I'm not comparing him.
He play on the wings as well.
Very, very quick. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We'll bring Kieran into the conversation as well. Kieran, would you sign a player similar to Callum Wilson, or would you sign a young player, or would you sign like a player to essentially replace Callum Wilson?
Now, the thing is, Callum's a bit of a touchy subject because he is a really good striker. Get him on the end of a ball, he'll tuck it into the back of the net. The only negative thing about him is he's made of glass. Literally, he'll go down and that's him out for like 5 to 6 months. So, in a way, yes.
Space, isn't he?
Yeah, in a way, yes, I would buy someone. But it's really just if Callum stays fit enough. So, say like first game of this season, next season, Callum's out injured. And we're like, fucking hell, what do we do? Yeah. So obviously we'll have Bruno. I feel like that happens. I feel like we will go for someone, because like the season will start like whilst we're still in the transfer window.
Yeah, I thought it didn't anymore.
Huh?
I thought the season didn't start anymore during the. I thought this.
No, it starts during the transfer window and then ends. The transfer window ends a month later.
The season starts in August, and August is still like the transfer window, and 1st of September it closes. So, yes, in a way, I'd bring someone in. Now, Jesus is out of contract, but he's a bit of a touchy subject.
He's hot and cold, isn't he? Would you really say he's an out and out number 9? Is he not like a number 10? Like he's more of like
a cage when he's playing in that Man City side.
I was watching him. I was watching him today. It's like he was possessed. He had nothing going for him. He was possessed in the bad way. Like he had nothing going for him, and he was just shambles. He was just.
Kieran, name a striker you would sign. Name a striker you would sign. One, just one.
One striker. Ekitike. Because he is the young talent, and if we can build on young talent, then go from there.
Andrew, one striker and one striker only.
I'd probably go Sheik.
Connor.
Ooh,
He's acting like surprised. I'm surprised you acted like you didn't know that question was coming. I would have had my answer already prepared.
I was a bit sad,
I would I think Eddie Nketiah from Arsenal, probably. He's a young player. Good prospect.
I wouldn't be too bad.
Out of contract as well.
And he's dragged them out, in several occasions this season. So I think he would be worth an investment.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Isak from Real Sociedad. I think
Yeah.
he's Swedish, I think, from the top of my head. He's unreal on Football Manager. If you've got that, so get to sign him.
Oh, can I make an honourable mention?
Go on then.
Jonathan David.
Nah.
Bring everyone.
Steve-
Come on, we've got the money.
Steve's
Steve
best
goes
mate.
on about him. Nah, it's Steve's best mate. Nah, he's not coming.
I watched him the other week. It was fucking terrible. Excuse me,
What was
French.
he? Overall,
Owen.
what would you rate the season, Andrew? For a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being good.
It's kind of hard because if it started like this and then ended the way it started, you'd probably give it a 3 or a 2, wouldn't you? But because it started the way it did and then it's ended, you probably. I think for me, it's a case of how has the football made me felt and how has St James's and everything made me felt since Christmas, say after the Cambridge loss. That's the first time I've been excited about Newcastle United since I was probably 20-year-old. So we've probably had better seasons in the league table in the last 10 years, but I'd say we're on to something and we're on the way up. So I'm going to give it an 8, simply because 8.5, because some of the players have stood up. Trippier got injured, Kraft stood up, and to be fair, he's looked like an international Swedish player, hasn't he? Sam will be loving that, but and you could twist it on its head. Let's say we stayed that if we'd started, say, the season the way that we finished it, and it went the other way, you would be so downbeat, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But I think Eddie Howe's done, and I was not over the moon when Eddie Howe got the job. I was happy, but what a job he's done, and hats off to the rest of the lads. 8.5.
8.5.
I have a question for you guys.
Go on then.
Do you feel bad that we've caused Burnley to go down?
No.
No.
At the end of the day,
I suppose it kind of is revenge for them knocking us out in the Carabao Cup.
At the end of the day, it's not just we've took their main striker, fair enough, but I don't even think he was scoring that many goals for them. And then at the end of the day, it's a season of 38 games. You can't really rely on just one game to win you, to keep you up. Do you know what I mean? And I'm glad we didn't go on like Villa went on when Villa relegated us. So,
Good point.
Kieran,
I'm delighted that Leeds have stayed up, because if we're all honest here, in terms of the Premier League, Leeds are a far more entertaining side than Burnley. And one side. And that's no disrespect to Burnley. It's just that they're quite a boring team to watch all the time, whereas Leeds aren't. And I'm sure Burnley will probably bounce back up. I think it makes for a very interesting championship next season, so that may be one to watch out for as well.
I'll ask you this, Connor. Do you think Burnley were wrong to sack Sean Dyche so close to the end of the season?
100%. No getting away from it. Mike Jackson came in, I think, for a couple of games, done okay, but ultimately to sack him, I think the big mistake wasn't just sacking him; it was sacking him, but without having somebody there to help him in, and just having an interim manager. How did they think they were going to stay up by sacking somebody like Sean Dyche and bringing in who has been an assistant? Basically, doesn't really make sense. So they got that one horribly wrong.
Sorry, Matt, if I add on to that there a second, Matt, there was a comment when when Burnley sacked Sean Dyche, their directors came out and said, "We would like to thank Sean Dyche for guiding the club to the most successful era in its history," and then say sacking a manager. So hang on, what you're saying is that you're sacking a guy that's taken you to the most successful period of your club's history, and then you're sacking him.
Yeah.
That for me, that just does not make sense.
After being 10 years at Turf Moor, just imagine being in that seat. Like, you've known a manager for 10 years, and he's taking he's taking Europe and all this. How would you feel just getting sacked in 9 games till the end of the season?
There was obviously something went on behind the scenes, wasn't there? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we'll get back to Newcastle. Connor, I'll ask you, rating out of 10 for this season.
I think a solid 8. Yeah. I think it has been a tale of two halves of the season. What I think we do have to say, though, I mean, the first half of the season, we weren't winning games, but there were plenty of games where it was just those margins that were costing us. Because let's not forget, after 20 games in, we had drawn 10 and lost 10. So we were losing every week. We just weren't winning because we didn't keep the line. We couldn't hang on. So in that respect, it wasn't as if there was a lack of for the players to try and get points on the board. But I think you have to score it higher because we have done something that nobody else has ever done in the Premier League. Nobody has been in the position we were in at the top of the year and then still stayed up. And not just stayed up, but stayed up to the point where today we could have been finishing in the top half of the table. We've finished, 2 or 3 points behind the likes of Leicester, Wolves.
The thing is, it was midway through the game, like it was mathematically we could finish 10th.
Yeah.
But because Brighton were getting beat by West Ham, but then they turned it around, so they got the 3 points. Therefore, we only got 11th, which, in fairness, isn't too bad. But it would have been it would have been cherry on top if we finished top 10.
I'll quickly bring Dylan in. But Kieran, what do you think of rating out of 10 for the season?
No, it has been bumpy at the start. I'll give it an 8 because 8 out of 10. Because as we said, if that hadn't have happened, it was just the start of the season, we were just all down. We were what's going to happen? We're just going to go to the championship. We're just going to cry our sorrows in the Shearers. But takeover happened. Best day of my life. Bruce getting sacked. I was away on holiday, literally sitting on the cliff ledge, looking out onto the sea, and I just saw on my phone, Bruce has been sacked. And I swear to God, if you had been standing about 100 meters away, you'd have been hearing, "Fucking get it!" So
I'm going to come out so you can get other people in, mate. But all the best, everybody.
All right.
I know me mate Lee's waiting to get in. He's been dying for a week, so ta-ra, mate.
All right.
All the best, lads.
Yeah, Andrew.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, after that happened, we went from there. Howe came in. I went to the first win of the season, so that was fun. And yeah, it just felt like we were a different team than we have for the past 3 years. We've had, we brought in 5 players, but we were turning a new page. We were going for everything. If we'd had Bruce, he'd have just said, "Right, lads, we're playing Arsenal. We're playing Arsenal." Just
it's a brilliant impression, mind, mate.
Thank you. Right, so basically, he's just it's Arsenal. I'm just thinking what's for my dinner. Oh, cheesy chips. But yeah, Bruce would have just told us to it's just Arsenal. Let's just keep them quiet. Let's just let them come on us, and we'll take care of them. If we'd have done that against Arsenal, would have been 5-0 before half time.
Yeah.
But we've been given these teams Arsenal and Arsenal and Liverpool were decent games because we actually gave them something.
Yeah.
Man City would just look like a pair of headless chickens. But yeah, it's just been interesting, and it's good to see what we'll do next season.
Yeah. Dylan, the game. What did you make of the game, and then what do you rate the season?
It wasn't the prettiest game, to be honest, but I didn't catch much of the second half because I was so into the title race and how that all transpired. But that's a pity for Burnley. I feel for them that they went down, but look, it unfortunately happens. We felt that for so long in the season that would have been us. So I guess commiserations to them, but. Yeah, look, the season as a whole, so many ups and downs. You know, like I heard the lads giving a few 8s there, and I'd probably say be around an 8 if we were to kind of average up the two halves of the season. Like the first half, anyone to give more than a 0.5 at a push would have been deluded. But the second half of the season was a complete 10, just because we literally finished 7 points off of Europe, having gone 14 games without a win. All the people that say Newcastle won't be in a battle for Europe for a few years, have a look at that statistic. And with a better group of players in the next 2 years, you know, right, well, we'll be in a battle for Europe sooner rather than later.
You know what the funny thing is? Everyone's like, oh yeah, well, they'll be fighting for Europe in, say, 2 to 3 years. The way we played against Arsenal was genuinely like we were fighting for top 4.
Yeah.
Not Arsenal. We
exactly
played them off the field. We didn't give them
I
any
said that here
time.
the other night. That was if a neutral looked at that game and didn't know to look at the league table and was told one team's, what were we, 14th at the time, and one team was 5th, you would have said Arsenal were 14th and we were 5th.
Yeah, exactly.
Turnaround
in performances have been phenomenal.
Yeah, I think I agree with everything you have been saying. Rita, I'm going to wrap it up because I need my tea. Connor, any final comments?
No, I think pretty much echo what the guy said there. I think we have to, next season, throughout the summer, we'll be looking interesting to see who comes in, who goes, and I think next season, one of the bigger things. I want to quickly say, I've heard some talk about, you know, the Jose Mourinho conversation has been happening, that they might just sack Eddie Howe anyway and try and get him in. That would be an incredibly harsh thing to do. And frankly, I don't think it would be a popular thing with the fans if they went to do it. Because Eddie Howe deserves what he's done. He's earned the chance to see what he can do. And I don't like the assumption that, oh, we'll only manage Bournemouth or this. That doesn't mean couldn't he manage us to a European spot?
Exactly.
I think he absolutely could. He's, you know, he's more capable. So
he's a genuinely good manager. Taking aside that he's only managed Bournemouth, he's a genuinely good manager. Like, now, hopefully, he gets his chance to showcase that an ambitious team fighting for Europe.
Yeah. Kieran, final comments?
All I can say is just do you guys want Sunderland to get promoted to the Prem next season?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
But look at the bright side, the derby's back.
Yeah.
Looking at it that way, but no.
I think it's just good for North East football if, like, Sunderland and Middlesbrough are in the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, it's just, plus it's a closer drive for the people that go to the away games as well. Do you know what I mean? Instead of like halfway down the country. But yeah, I think it'll be good to have Sunderland back in the Premier League. I don't think they will mind. I don't think they will be in the Premier League next season. I think arguably they could go straight back down, but that's the conversation for another day. Dylan, final comments, mate?
Just brilliant how the season ended for us. Like, you know, it's such a positive way to end it, and to nearly get to 50 points, having had 7 points from 14 games is phenomenal. So just hugely positive vibes around the club, and now we have a club to look forward to, a club that's actually going to try and make us proud. So it's only exciting times ahead for us.
I will say this: I'm excited for what we do.
Same.
Like, it's the first time in a long ass time that I'm gonna say I'm excited for what we are gonna do. Even Arsenal fans, when we beat them, they said, watch them, they'll be fighting for Champions League if they keep the way they played against them. And I agree with them, because if we play like that, we kill, like tiki-taka like Man City. Well, we will qualify for, like, say, Champions League or something.
One thing that's for certain is we won't be getting beaten by 4 or 5 goals as regularly next season.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not, but no, I'm confident.
Never say never with Newcastle. Do you know what I mean? That's what I've always said. Never say never.
Maybe Man City, but
but lads, it's been brilliant having you on. Obviously, it's come close to an hour and I need me tea. So,
what you having?
If you, whatever's in the freezer, I think.
Cheesy chips.
Sausage
roll from Greg's.
I wouldn't dare have cheesy chips. if you haven't, go on, Connor.
I was just throwing out, doner kebab as a suggestion. I know a lot of Steve Bruce's favourite dishes, I'm sure.
Aye.
That is
well,
a very good shout.
well, I'm gonna enjoy my cheesy chips and sit down in West Brom, and I'll take them down to League One. Oh.
If you haven't already, remember to like the video. Obviously, we'll have a couple more videos coming out over the next couple of weeks. Obviously, season's ended, but like I said before, lads, it's been brilliant having you on.
Expect some videos when the new kits are unveiled.
Yeah.
Leo love them.
I'll speak to you in the when the new season starts, and we can see who we've signed. All right.
Yeah.
See you later.
Okay. See.
See you.